What's up, Math 8? Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Math with Mullins. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 3.5, variables on both sides. So we're basically going to be looking at how can we solve inequalities with variables on both sides. We're still going to use the don't call me after midnight formula, so let's just make sure we're keeping that in the back of our minds, and let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to remember are the steps that we use to solve multi-step inequalities. Distribute, combine like terms, moving variables, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. You also want to watch for your negatives and flipping that sign or flipping inequality symbol. Okay, so when you have a moment, go ahead and copy this in your notes, and when you're ready to go on, click play. All right, our first example is this. We have first a distribution on the side, so we're going to do 2x minus 8 is greater than 5x plus 2. What I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm also going to draw my line through the inequality symbol just so we can see the left and the right side. The next thing I want to do is move my variables. I'm going to start with the smallest variable and move that first. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So all that's left is negative 8 is greater than 3x plus 2. Then I'm going to move my 2 by subtracting it from both sides. It looks like I'm probably going to get a decimal for this one. I'm going to get negative 10 is greater than 3x. My last step will be to divide both sides by 3. So x is less than 10 divided by 3. That's probably actually going to be a repeating decimal. So what I would do here is either show the repeating decimal, so negative 3.3 repeating, or you can even write it as negative 3 1/3. Okay. We are also going to graph this. Remember, graphing it is better when I have my variable out in front. So I'm just going to switch it around to say x is less than negative 3 1/3. And I'm going to have that in the middle. Maybe I can have negative 3 to the right and negative 3 2/3 to the left. That's an open circle pointing to the left. Okay. On to the next one. We have this example. Maybe pause the video and try it first. And when you're done, click play to see if you got the right answer. So first thing I'm going to do is draw a line down the inequality symbol and look for things to combine. I have things to combine on the left and right side. 2x plus 4x is 6x. On the left side, I have 6x plus 5 is less than or equal to. And then I can combine the 3 plus 5. That gives me 8 minus 2x. Next, I'm going to move my smallest variable, which is the minus 2x, to both sides. Moving the smallest variable also helps deal with any possibilities of having too many negatives, so keep that in mind. So now I have 8x plus 5 is less than or equal to 8. I would need to then subtract 5 from both sides to get all my numbers on one side. That's going to give me 8x is less than or equal to 3. And then my final step is to divide both sides by 8. Again, this will be a decimal. You can say x is less than or equal to 3/8. Or if you actually typed in 3 divided by 8 on your calculator, that'll be fine too. That is less than or equal to 0.375. Graphing it, we would have maybe 3/8 here in the middle, 4/8 to the right, which is 1/2, and 2/8 to the left, which is 1/4. That is going to be a closed circle pointing to the left. Next up, we've got two different examples. So let's take time to try both of these. If you haven't done so yet, let's pause the video here, try these on your own, and when you're ready to check them, click play. The first thing I'm going to show in this one here on the left side is distribution. So I have 3 minus 4x plus 4, because negative 4 times negative 1 is a positive 4, and then is less than 2x plus 8. Next, I'm going to combine like terms. I have a 3 and a 4 I can combine, so that's 7 minus 4x is less than 2x plus 8. Now that I have that going, I'm going to go ahead and move my variables. It might be easier to move this negative 4x to the right side so I can keep my positives with the variable. That is going to give me 6x plus 8 on the right side, still a less than symbol, and then a 7. Next up, I would subtract 8 from both sides. Here's where I'm going to get a negative number, but that is okay. I get negative 1 is less than 6x. Finally, dividing both sides by 6, I get negative 1/6 is less than x. To graph this, I would maybe keep my negative 1/6 here in the middle. Negative 2/6 would be on the right, so that's negative 1/3, and then maybe a 0 here. And then since this is flipped around, I'm going to rewrite it as x is greater than negative 1/6 to make it easier to graph it. So that would end up actually being an open circle pointing to the right. Let's go back up here and try this one. This one we're distributing as well. So we get negative 3x minus 12 minus 2 is greater than or equal to 1/2 times 8 is 4. 1/2 times negative 2 is negative 1x. Combine like terms first. I've got negative 3x minus 14 is greater than or equal to 4 minus 1x. Then I'm going to move my variables. I'm going to move my negative 3x to the right. So I have negative 14 is greater than or equal to 4 plus 2x. Then I need to subtract 4 from both sides. That's going to give me negative 18 is greater than or equal to 2x. And finally, I'm going to divide both sides by 2 so that x is less than or equal to negative 9. So when I rewrite it, x is first. Okay, that looks like this on my number line. I've got negative 9, negative 8 to the right, negative 10 to the left. That is a closed circle pointing to the left. These next few we're going to see are word problems. So we have 2 word problems to talk about. And it says, Alex has $500 in his savings account and will be depositing $50 each week. Beth has $300 in her savings account and will be depositing $70 each week. For how many weeks will Alex have more money in his account than Beth? So what we really want to see, can Alex's situation be more than or greater than Beth? So let's start talking about what Alex has. He already has $500 and then he's depositing $50 per week. So that's 50x. Is greater than $300 for Beth plus $70 per week. So here's my inequality, and now I'm going to solve it. Maybe the first thing I do is move my 50x with the 70x. I'm going to subtract those. So I get 500 is greater than 300 plus 20x. Then we will subtract 300 from both sides, so that I get 200 is greater than 20x. Final step, dividing both sides by 20 allows us to maybe even simplify that. I get 10 is greater than x, or x is less than 10. So how I would need to say this: for less than 10 weeks, Alex will have more. Okay, so that is how we're going to answer that question. Not just x is less than 10, but actually putting it in a sentence format. The last one we have, a very similar equation. Let's go ahead and try it. Or very similar inequality. Gym A charges a $50 initiation fee and $10 each month. Gym B offers a $20 initiation fee and $25 each month. For how many months is Gym A cheaper than Gym B? So Gym A needs to be less than Gym B. So let's start with letter A. $50 plus $10 each month is less than $20 plus $25 each month. Again, I would start by moving my smallest variable. So that means I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. I'm going to have 50 is less than 20 plus 15x. Subtract 20 from both sides. So now I have 30 is less than 15x. Last but not least, dividing both sides by 15, I get 2 is less than x, or x is greater than 2. So my answer, for how many months is Gym A cheaper than Gym B? For more than 2 months, A is cheaper than B. Okay,